Hey everybody, this is Dream, and today we have a nice little 3-game NBA slate for you. Before I get started, can you guys smash that like and subscribe button? So we do have a small injury report today. Zach LaVine is questionable. Emmanuel Quickly for Toronto is questionable. And then let's see here. Scotty Barnes for Toronto is out. DeAndre Hunter for Atlanta is doubtful. For Brooklyn, Ben Simmons is doubtful or is out. Excuse me. And then Bogdanovich for Atlanta is out. Um, with that said, we do have some interesting plays on the slate. We're going to look at our point guards first. So James Harden and Trae Young are both going to be top tier options here. I do think Harden's a little bit safer, but he's a little bit cheaper. He also had 2 bad games in a row. Do keep that in mind, but he is capable of a monster game here in this matchup, and I think he's in a good position to have a big game. Like I said, Trae Young, he's been phenomenal lately. He's had a couple off games, but one of those was against Boston. Now, this is a little bit of a slowdown game for him against Chicago, so to keep that in mind as well. I think both these guys have a lot of potential today, though. Josh Giddey is also in play for Chicago, as he's been playing pretty good at times, though he does have a low floor. He has a pretty high ceiling as well, and he's priced nicely today. And then Darius Garland, he's also an interesting play for Cleveland against Brooklyn today. He's going to have a lot of upside as he's been really playing well, and he has some as high upside as just about anybody on the slate. Looking at our shooting guards, we will look at Garrison Matthews as a cheap play, and probably one of my favorite cheap plays on the slate for Atlanta. He's cheap. Now, he doesn't have a super high ceiling, but he should be able to get over 15 fantasy points in this one, which he's done in just about every game this season, and that gives him a safe floor here. Obviously, he's not somebody that is going to score, 30 fantasy points most of the time, but he is actually capable of that because his minutes are up there, but he is kind of a high risk play. However, he does help you pay up for other people at other positions. Kobe White looks really good, interesting today for Chicago as a contrarian play. Not a must play, but he does fit in at point guard as well. And he's had some good games lately. Dyson Daniels, meanwhile, he's kind of a contrarian play today as well. This position is pretty weak. And so I do think Garrison Matthews gets an added boost because of that as well. But Daniels does have some upside, but he might be a little bit overpriced for his potential today. Looking at small forwards, another position that's very weak today, and David Roddy is going to be kind of a really nice option on this slate. Let me go. Yeah, there he is. As small forward, he's not super expensive, and his minutes have been a little bit inconsistent, but he is capable, assuming these Hunter remains out. He is capable of a decent game today. And another time where this position is just very weak, with Dyson Daniels being the only other guy that really has good upside. Now, I will note that Cam Thomas can go off at times, and so you could have mixed him into the slate as well. Looking at power forwards, Jalen Johnson, his price keeps coming up. Obviously, I wish he was a little bit cheaper than this, but he is playing very well at times, and he has a high ceiling. The floor is a little bit lower than I'd like, but it's in a small slate like this, you're going to have to take a few risks. David Roddy can also play here. And then Evan Mobley for Cleveland. Cleveland bigs definitely look pretty interesting today. Where'd he go? There he is for Cleveland. He also looks pretty awesome today, so he's definitely somebody I'm going to try to roster, as he has a pretty good ceiling when it comes to this price point today, and he's got a pretty good matchup as well. Looking at the centers, Jarrett Allen looks solid today. He's been pretty good so far this season, and his floor is pretty much right where his price is at, which is very nice on the slate. And then Nick Claxton, he's an interesting play for Brooklyn, though. It is a tough matchup for him. He definitely has a pretty high ceiling, though, so to keep that in mind, and even though he does have a lower floor. So with that said, guys, thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing. If you have any comments,